this week's episode of Ushio and Tora, the side characters from the series take center stage, and Hyou the Exorcist has a final bloody battle with Guren. This week's episode of U&T is the prime example of why its side characters are just as strong as the main characters, and arguably more interesting. This week's episode, we got to see the return of a lot of classics. We got Saya from the white-haired clan, not to mention the return of Old Mikado, whose name I probably just butchered. Despite that, these are characters who left a huge impact on the series, and getting to see them return in the final battle is a lot of fun. And this final battle is getting really crazy, with Hakumen no Mono just completely destroying everything in his wake. That is until Ushio finally gets the Beast Spear back in this crazy sequence. Hakumen no Mono is easily distracted, and this gives Ushio the perfect opportunity to reforge the Beast Spear in a way which frankly just doesn't make all that much sense to me, but whatever, it looks really cool, with him and Tora flying out of the air and all the shards going into his body, suddenly reforming the spear as it exits his mouth. It's some weird freaky imagery, but it leads to a great scene where Ushio grabs the spear, goes into his crazy beast form, jumps up in the air, and smacks the shit out of Hakumen no Mono. A really satisfying scene, and it's really great to finally see Ushio doing some damage on this big monstrous bastard. I'd be remiss if I did not talk about the character of Saya, who is clearly the best girl of the series. She's freaking great, especially because she has the ability to open up these doors to the netherworld, which are going to be very helpful for Ushio and Tora, bringing back some old favorites like that old lady herself. Yes, that was a really cool scene, but the bulk of this week's episode is dedicated to Hyou versus Guren. Apparently, they've been fighting for a couple of days, and about halfway through the episode, just randomly, we get to see that Hyou is passed out in this woman's yard, who apparently is some famous actress. They felt the need to tell us this because reasons. She also has an extremely neglected daughter. This is an obvious parallel to Hyou's family. He now has someone to protect, and he's definitely going to have to get to work because Guren arrives in a big flash of awesomeness, and this is when their big final battle begins, with this mother being protected by her child that she doesn't even care about, and Hyou constantly jumping in the way of Guren's attacks. This is when stuff just starts to get insane, for a lack of a better word, because there's this scene where apparently Hyou has embedded his entire body with these anti-yokai tags, and he ends up ripping his own eyeball out, shoving it into Guren's mouth, and then Guren bites his arm off, which of course is filled to the brim with all of these anti-yokai tags, which causes him to explode from the inside. And that's not even counting all the other ridiculous fire and electricity and explosive attacks that you see in this battle. It's such an emotional battle as well, because Hyou is finally getting revenge for the death of his family, while at the same time still protecting this other one and sort of bringing them together in a way. It's sort of contrived in some senses and a little cheesy, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that they got back to this part of the story, because I always thought that Hyou was a really cool character, and arguably more interesting than some of the stuff that Ushio is doing. There's a nice cheesy ending where Hyou actually ends up dying, but he's still embraced by the love of his family. We see this little flashback where we get to see a much happier version of their family, which, when you look at the old version of Hyou, damn, that is like night and day difference compared to the frickin' psychopath demon slayer that we see later on in the series. His only regret being that he couldn't be there with Ushio, another direct parallel to that character who is fighting evil in his very own way. This was a pretty hard-hitting episode of Ushio and Tora right here, and it's another great build-up to the finale, which I think is just going to be fan-freaking-tastic. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? Lots of cool monster slaying, lots of really cool, flashy, animated moments. This was a great episode of Ushio and Tora, which, like I said, played upon the strengths of the side characters, who in this show, I think really stand out. I love every single one of them, for their uniqueness, for their abilities, the fact that they are useful and not just throwaway characters. Every single character that has practically appeared in the show that's just not some random demon to be killed has made a reappearance here in the final arc, and is sort of like making you realize this is the perfect culmination of the entire series. It has brought everything together, and it's making this finale all the more worth it, and all the more triumphant. I really cannot wait to see what's going to happen here, because Guren was kind of like, I think, maybe one of the last trump cards which belonged to the Hakumen no Mono, and when I say that, I mean basically it's like his last line of soldiers that he's using as his own personal meat shield. I think this point, we're going to see Hakumen no Mono go even crazier, which is going to lead to an even more sweeter finale, and just waiting for Tora to come back is also going to be an excruciating wait, because of course, he had all of these freaking teeth just embedded in his body. You can see that he has just been completely wrecked by the Hakumen no Mono, but we've seen a lot of damage done to Tora in the past. He's lost limbs before and just puts them back together like it's just no big deal. He's gonna be just fine. Him and Ushio are gonna team up, and they're just gonna spank that Hakumen no Mono ass. Hakumen no Mono is also still a pretty cool villain. It's still incredibly creepy every single time they do those close-ups of its face. Just nightmare fuel. It's crazy, and it was so great to finally see Ushio do a little bit of damage to this thing, which really seemed to piss it off a bit, and I'm sure we're going to see some more of the other demons fighting in this big final battle. I'm just so excited to see how they're going to end all of it, and hopefully they'll get to up the animation a little bit as we get closer to the finale. That's not to say that this was a bad episode. There were some times where things looked a little stiff, and there are moments where I'm like, they could do things a little bit better, but the spectacle is still there, the emotion is still there. As cheesy as it might be, this was a good episode of Ushio and Tora, and I really enjoyed it, and you should definitely check it out if you're a fan of the manga or the anime version. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 4 out of 5. The whole Hyou and Guren fight just sort of came out of nowhere, but honestly, it was pretty damn satisfying. It's got me even more excited now that Hakumen no Mono has no other weird little fucking guards or Goombas or whatever you want to fucking call them. It's just going to be Hakumen no Mono versus Ushio, Tora, and the entire demon army. So let's get excited for that! But if any of you guys did watch this episode, maybe you can tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you like the battles in this one? What did you think of Ushio finally getting the Beast Spear back? Were you surprised that they went to a story of Hyou and Guren? Or were you satisfied by that battle? And what do you want to see from the final episodes of Ushio and Tora? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you, my friends, for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, and make sure to like this video and comment on it. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!